Okay, all right, all right. I'm staying. better what I eat.
You can tell them to call the meeting to order.
Mayor, you can call the meeting to order now.
Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic as one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Welcome to the September 16th, 2025 Budget Workshop Session. Township Administration present at tonight's meeting are Jacqueline Hashmat, the Township Manager, Doug Riccione, the Township Clerk, Kristen New York, the Deputy Township Clerk in the hot seat tonight. Tom Jardine is not here yet, but he'll be representing our town. He's on Zoom.
I'm here, Mayor, on Zoom.
Thank you very much. I did not see you from our Township Attorney's Office. Ron Goodman, our volunteer cable master. Issa Bossi, our CFO. And Dan Ganji, our Township Auditor. For the public's information, we are currently holding a hybrid format meeting. We have people in person and on Zoom. If our Wi-Fi at the municipal building has an issue where the Zoom meeting drops, we'll aim to retrieve the connection and continue the meeting. If you haven't yet signed up on our website for the Township Alerts, please do so. The next regular council meeting has been moved to Monday, September 29th, starting at 6:30 p.m. with the public portion beginning at 8 p.m. And with that, we'll start our regular agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just need to read the adequate notice.
Oh, please, I'm sorry.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by Resolution 246-2025. Sending a copy to the newspapers officially designated for 2025 by Resolution number 2-2025. Filing a copy in the Township Clerk's office and posting on the municipal building bulletin board. And the mayor hereby directs that this statement be included in the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's no motion to go into closed session, no closed session, no motion to return. We're going right to work session items, the 2026 municipal budget discussion. And I'll start off by first thanking Deputy Mayor Belcher for this idea. What I propose is we go around the room and I will start discussing our budgets for next year, our thoughts, our prayers. We're going to do, I'm sorry?
We have to do a roll call?
Did you do the roll call in the beginning?
We're so quick.
Okay. The roll call.
We got Councilwoman Goldberg,
Here.
Councilman Pagan,
Here.
Councilwoman G,
Here.
Councilman Katz, Deputy Mayor Belcher,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Organ,
Here.
and Mayor Schwartz.
Here. Okay, so we'll do our work session items, then we'll open up the public good and welfare at the end, and then if there's any formal meetings, formal meeting items, we'll handle it then, and then we'll adjourn. So with that, as I was discussing, this was a Deputy Mayor Denise Belcher's idea to have a kickoff to our budget season, even though the budget season begins later, to go around the room, discuss ideas about the budget. So we have plenty of time for us, for the public. We've recently gotten some put out for a financial advisory board. So by the time it does come for the actual budget, there'll be no one in town that's shocked or in shock. So with that, I'm going to start, and then let's raise our hands. We'll just try to be courteous to each other. I think the budget is very simple. We either can raise revenue via X, enter our suggestions here. We could cut expenses, layoffs, or any other expenses, or we can increase taxes or any combination of the above. It's no shock that I've obviously been a big proponent of building, and building has always brought in revenue. There are other people in this council that were instrumental in bringing cannabis to the table, and it looks like the cannabis will be opening up by the end of the year. I suggest if anybody wants to drive down 455 Alfred Avenue, take a look. And they expect to be opening by the end of the year. How much money we'll get? They estimate about $1 million a year. That does not include the fact that the old Liberty Travel on Route 4 East is opening up as a cannabis place, cannabis retail any day. And so my urging is that we continue to build and bring in the revenue. I don't believe there's a lot to cut from the budget, if anything at all. And I'd like to keep that increase to minimum while working to create as much revenue opportunities as possible. I'll end off by saying that people, both on the council and the public, have come up with ideas. Unfortunately, $10,000, $20,000 ideas help, but they don't really move that needle. We're looking at big ticket items. 329 Alfred Avenue's permit fees alone were almost exactly $600,000. So those are the items, the type of items I look at. With that said, anybody else like to talk? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, we, the whole intent is to get ahead of the curve, to get an early start, to make an effort, a concerted effort to find means by which we can impact in a positive way our budget, which we normally start this discussion in January. So starting, you know, 4 months early, my hope is that we can identify economies of scale that can essentially help us to be a benefit in terms of the bottom line for our residents, in terms of you know, taxes not being such a hardship. So whatever we can do by putting our heads together, and I 100% agree with tapping resources within our community, subject matter experts, people that are doing this on a daily basis that can come to the table and can help to that end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we all know what the challenges are that we're facing, and so does our staff. And we have an incredibly talented staff. And I remember former Mayor Jim Dunleavy used to say that we should maybe consider doing a 5-year plan just to project what we might be facing. And so I was thinking maybe we should ask our staff to maybe start working on a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan on what we might be facing in the years when it comes to budget. And I know the economy can change in a heartbeat, and that can change a lot of things, but maybe that's something we can explore, asking our staff to maybe just come up with a report or a memo with some projections over the next 5 to 10 years.
I actually think, I mean, maybe I'll keep our notes and I'll comment, but I'll let everyone else speak because I do have a response. I know our CFO has a response to what you're asked as well. Anybody else? We can do a motion to adjourn, or are we going to speak?
I'll go. I think that working on the budget per se can't be done until the beginning of the year when all of our numbers are in. So putting our heads together to work on a budget where we don't know what we're working with, it sounds great, but I don't think that there's any action that we can be taking. I think what we should be working on, and we should always be working on, is bringing more revenue into the town. And that doesn't have to be around budget season. It doesn't have to be at a formal meeting. But these are the things that we should be putting our heads together and working on. I think as a council, we need to revisit AINRs and pilots. I know there was a freeze on them for 2 years and they became hot topic ticket items. I think they're misunderstood. I think there's a lot of pressure from a few people in the public not to support them. And I think that's hurt the town in the last few years when it comes to our bottom line and the money, the revenue that comes in. So if we were going to have a workshop, I think it should be more on that and how we can get ahead of the curve, how we can find money. I don't think anyone here is in favor of raising taxes, and I don't think anybody here is in favor of decreasing services. I think people are very happy that they live here, but I think it should be our job to be as creative as we can and to start talking about the things that have been taboo and make them not as taboo.
I'd like to see us look at opportunities for better partnership with the county, with the Board of Education. I think there are so many opportunities for us to create economies of scale by looking at our budgets together and seeing where there are, shared services opportunities or where there are things that we can split costs on. There are a lot of the things that we do the same of. We have a lot of similar equipment that we could share, et cetera. And so I don't think we've had that conversation. And I think that's something we could explore to help reduce expenses.
Councilwoman Gober?
I have a question. You mentioned $1 million in revenue on cannabis. So we only get 2% back on their gross revenue. So how much is their projections going to be that it's that much money a year?
Thank you. So these are just literally back in napkin math done as I believe, if anyone knows the answer, they have 4 licenses. I believe, and I'm not an expert this by any means, between the cultivating, the distribution, the retail. I'm not really down with the terms. And the back of the napkin math, again, not using a calculator, is as much as $700,000. Sorry, as much as $1 million on the revenue. Obviously, that's before they even open, so it's entirely projections. I'm going to tie that response into what Mayor Pagan mentioned, and that is we actually do run I believe, and Dan has it, and I think it may have been sent out, if not to the whole council, to Councilman Goldberg, but perhaps it's sent to everyone. So you have the 3-year model that you control that spreadsheet, or Dan has that spreadsheet?
It's both of our minds put together, but Dan really controls that.
And we've sent it out to council this past year, or we did not?
Yes, back, I believe, in March.
Got it. So if we can make a note to send it out, that's
Sure.
basically a working 3-year model, which always has a higher number at the end. And those are similar to the models where our auditor or our CFO will plug in, $1 million on cannabis. Well, what does that do? It's not till next year. What does that do? It's very similar to the 5-year capital plan that we have, which always has a $30 million rebuild of the fire department. That's always been there. And every year it's gotten moved for about a decade now. We just keep shifting it over, but we keep it there. So have we sent out the 5-year capital projection spreadsheet as well?
We can resend that. That was in the budget binder. It's in tab 6, I believe.
Okay.
But we can make that available again to the council as a
Excellent.
packet.
So we can see it, play with it. And I believe what we've done been able to do with this is input, there's pilot money coming, or no, there's permit fees coming in, plug and play, and it literally shows you what the next year. It's absolutely, Mayor Dunleavy actually reached out to remind us of those comments. So thank you very much. He reached out to me yesterday because I believe he actually put his name into the ring. Did I say for the financial advisory board? Is that correct? Doug, do you want to reach out to or let us know who else threw their name into that? Do you have that list handy by any chance? And I believe whoever's idea that was, I'm not sure it's Deputy Mayor Belcher, Oregon, also a great idea. So we can have some, you always use the term subject matter experts, look at it, and we hope that they can come up either with ideas or blessings. Hopefully no curses. That would be the benefit.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I know cannabis attorney isn't on right now, but I'm fairly sure that when we updated the ordinance, we don't allow distribution in Teaneck. So I think it's only 2 licenses, but Mr. Mandela will have to double check that.
Did we invite Mr. Mondell? We had this conversation a few weeks ago. Is he coming to an upcoming meeting to discuss,
No, we just asked Scott to reach out to him about the host agreement.
host agreement? Okay, so Scott's gonna reach out so we can maybe get a little, clarity from, Scott. Tom, would you be able to put on, ask Scott if he can also, not just a home agreement, but confirm the licensing that we have and do not have as it relates to this?
Will do, Mayor. Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Clerk, what do you got for us? I think it was a pretty thorough list, I believe.
It's not an advisory board. It's just a bunch of people.
Task
Yeah.
force. Got it. Got it. Like a SWAT team.
No interviews.
No color-coded spreadsheets. Got it. Search by the name Sarenson. I think that'll show up then. Saren, right? Jeffrey? No, Dunleavy?
While we're stalling, I had a conversation with somebody from Bogota to build the Atwater there. Their developer's agreement was $4 million towards a new rec center. So I think as we do go through these projects, we may have been under asking in our developers' agreements.
In that project, they just broke ground on it. It's starting to look beautiful. I know it's just the foundation, but
Yeah.
it's looking nice. And the field across the way from it is just as gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Margot Vandermoos, Gerald Reiner, Howard Polensky, David Gruber, Barry Feigenbaum, Manish Singh, Victoria Marino, Dr. James Dunleavy, Muez Elias, and Dove Adler.
Okay. It's actually a pretty solid list. Almost all of them are financial people. Only one person I don't know in that list.
So the CFO will be reaching out to them, forwarding copies of last year's budget to them, and then we'll get everyone together on a Zoom where we can guide them and answer questions.
Development question. Are there any projects that might come on board for this next budget year that we didn't have last year, the year before, that we maybe can expect some revenue from?
Yes. So our goal, and we may just miss it by a few days, and I think Ms. Manager, you do have an update, but I believe our goal was to get the permit money for the building for 100, 140 State Streets and 359 Alfred Avenue. It does not look like we're going to get them by December 31st. Because the first permit that we get is footings and foundation. Footings and foundation is actually a relatively cheap permit compared to building, which measures the whole building. 359 Alfred Avenue is very close to that, but we may just miss it by a few weeks. 140 State Street had the lender had needed some signatures today, which I believe I signed today for the clerk. So that is moving along. And 100 State Street is site plan coming up very shortly as well, but they're actually fully funded to build. So we have those 3 projects are looking good for next year, but unfortunately that's next year payment, not next year budget. Did I say that right? You said if the money comes in, we're gonna get it for next year, but we're not gonna be able to use it for this year's budget.
As long as it's in the bank by December 31st this year. Otherwise,
Exactly.
there may be a way with the auditor where we potentially can petition the state. I don't know if you've seen that many times. We were able to do it last year with the cell tower, but that's because we had the contract and everything signed and the closing had occurred. So
Right.
there might be a way.
The permit fees for those 3 buildings are a drop under $1 million combined. That's just on the permit fees.
I kind of like to revisit something that Deputy Mayor Karen just said about, are we really taking a concerted look at our development fees? We may have opportunities there that we, may not be charging what other townships are essentially getting, to your point, Pagoda.
So I actually got in trouble, and I'm going to address it. On Haluba, we're only allowed to ask for $140,000. I believe that was the cap. And Issa, perhaps you can answer that. It's actually a Mike Ash question. On a pilot, the sky is the limit, which is what Pagoda did. On the regular developments, it's very limited. Does anyone over there, Tom, you want to explain that properly? Would you know that offhand? I just want to make sure I answer that.
Give me the exact question, Mayor.
Yes. On a pilot, the sky is the limit to what we can ask for. Under a regular development, such as what we did at Haluba, a Parkside Lane development, we were capped at approximately 140,000, or maybe that's what we pushed on. Maybe it was 100,000, but we pushed to 140 in terms of what we were able to get from the developer, because it was on a zoning variance. It was not as of not a pilot or a redeveloper's agreement.
That's generally true. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's not a pilot, you can only you'll charge for the permit fees and any offsite improvements that are required. If you need a new traffic light, they're required to pay for that. So, but it's limited by it's got to be reasonably related to the project, and not necessarily the sky's the limit on a pilot. It's got to fit within the statutory time framework.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would ask that our attorneys look at what those, statutory boundaries are in terms of what we may not be asking for, that we should be looking at or exploring what possibilities we may have. If it's not development fees, maybe it is other types of gifts or opportunities that the developers can invest in our community, be it, adding on to our community centers, adding certain things to our parks that are nearby the development, et cetera. So I would ask that we explore those possibilities.
But another thing that you can explore is your sewer connection fees and whether they're priced correctly.
Okay. We also did, and while it's a very good point, we brought this up a few years ago. We implemented a emergency services fee. And Issa, what's the second fee that we implemented? Which was, I guess, it was we have the affordable housing fee. We have the emergency services fee.
I believe there's like a parking fee, like a parking trust, possibly. I could look back at that.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. And if you could inquire on the sewage fee and the sewer connection fee, see what we.
And related to that, there's a separate I&I fee. In other words, infiltration and inflow, and you could charge a separate fee to that in connection with the sewer connection fees as well.
Thank you.
I just have a question. I don't know if it's for Issa or Tom. So for the permit fees, those are what offsets the UCC costs that are for the building department salary and expenses. Is that correct? Is that the part of the budget that hits?
Yeah.
Like it's dedicated. It doesn't just bring down the tax rate, right?
Well,
Or am I thinking of something else?
It's not intended to be a windfall for the municipality. It has to be generally related to what the costs are. But oftentimes municipalities will make money on permit fees because it exceeds the cost to run the department.
Right, but what I'm asking, so it's on the budget, there's a dedicated area in the budget, and it goes to a report to the state. So last year, I think it was 1.2, something like that. So is that what that is? Is that, I'm just making clear, I'm just not clear if that's the same source of revenue. I'm just not understanding. So is that what it is?
Administrator on that.
Yes, no, okay. My other two questions, Issa, where are we with sewer billing revenue? Because I know last year we were behind and I didn't know where we were on that, and that was a significant amount.
We're actually very close, potentially within the next week, if not by the end of the month, to bill out the 22 bill, and then we'll be working on the 23 bill. Unfortunately, this year we did have some difficulty in getting it out. We had some technical issues with Edmunds, but we got that resolved actually today. The billing was double checked by the tax department staff. It should be going out with a turnaround of by the end of October. And then actually concurrently, we're requesting the data for 23 and 24 from Veolia and BCUA so we can prepare the next 2 years' bills. So the hope is actually to be caught up by 2027 so that you're still a 1 year look back. But again, it did take us some time because of, the scheduling of myself and the consultant to actually get 2022 taken care of.
Just clarify, we're not sending those out during the holiday season. I think we asked you to hold off on that till what date? What's the bill date on Edmonds?
So we didn't put the bill date on. It potentially could be the 29th of September.
Okay.
If you feel that is a little bit insensitive, I understand, and we can push it off. We're going to give a 1 month turnaround. If you want me to issue it mid-October, we can do that. But I really want it to be due by the end of October, if not first week or so of November at the latest.
And just keep in mind that many of the houses of worship are getting bills.
Yes.
And many of the restaurants are getting bills. So a lot of those, just keep that in mind with the holidays and they're closing. That was why I asked not to do it at the end of September, more like the first week of October for a 30-day turnaround that takes us till, beginning of November.
November. Okay. I mean, we were looking to have it due by October 30th. So if you want, we could push it by a week.
If you could,
Early
because the
November.
first business day back is October 16th. Just
Okay.
saying.
Can I just clarify how much we're talking about?
I would say I didn't total them yet with tax department. Possibly between $600,000 to $800,000 right there in the billing.
2022?
Yes.
And then
Typically, you're in the $900,000 range. I've noticed, obviously, with COVID, it had gone down to 600,000. So I'm being conservative by saying 600. I can get a number to everyone. I'd say by the end of the month. As soon as we bill it out, we'll know the receivable amount.
Can I ask another question? Okay, so if that's 2022,
Correct.
so 2023 and 2024
Would hopefully be billed next year.
will
Correct.
be billed next year.
But
and-
have a budget buffer. And then the problem is we've never really, all right, let me go back. The problem is the sewer billing was always done in-house for decades and eons by an IT person, a very dedicated, knowledgeable IT person, may they rest in peace. And then there was no knowledge transfer. And when I spoke with the prior township attorney, this is an area where you really need a person of expertise, most likely an engineer or a subject matter expert, to your point, Deputy Mayor, who knows about suspended solids, BODs, and all of these sewer related things none of us, maybe except for the mayor in here, have a clue about. So we were able to find that person. We actually asked Veolia to do this. I know Passaic Valley Water Commission does handle this in-house, but apparent for other towns, but they're also trying to get away from that because it's one more thing they're doing for municipalities, probably at a nominal fee. So we're kind of on our own to do this. It's either you pay someone who has subject matter expertise in this, or you go find an engineering firm who's going to exorbitantly charge you. For the fee that we're being charged by the consultant, it's a pittance compared to the revenue we're bringing in.
Well, I believe it was like 16,000
17.5 at most.
on the $700,000 revenue.
Yes.
doesn't Leonia have the same system as us? I thought they have like 2 or 3 part-timers doing this.
They have their engineer, who I can probably venture to guess charges way more to handle this than what they bring in. They don't bring in nearly what we bring in. They do have a sewer charge for businesses, but it pales in comparison to us.
What are they? What's approximate revenue on?
I can find out for you in a few minutes. Probably, I'll estimate. I don't want to estimate it, but I'll get it to you in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, you'll call the CFO?
Yes, I'll call him right now.
Okay, good. Excellent, okay. Just to answer Councilwoman Organ, your question about COVID, it went down. The reason why sewer went down during COVID was people were at home more, but we don't charge homeowners, we charge business owners. So if you have a restaurant that's using over 100,000 gallons of sewer, we hit you with a fee. But if those restaurants were shuttered, so homeowners went up, and our BUCA bill went up, but we were able to pass along a lot less. So we kind of got hurt there.
I have one more question for the CFO and then I'm done. What percentage of our 2026 budget is going to be already allocated to debt service?
Typically, I believe it's about 5%. Every year Moody's compliments us on that. We could go up to probably 10%, but again, the entire budget is a work of art. It's a trade-off. How much do we want to up our debt service versus taxing the residents? I can also get you that analysis. That might take a little bit longer, but I have that math. But it's, again, your fixed, your bonds, which are your longer term debt note, your debt issuances are fixed. We have schedules for that. It's really the notes that we would have to look to permanently finance, which I do work with the auditor, sometimes bond counsel, and also for sure Phoenix Advisors, our financial advisor, to time that properly. But it's going to be stable, if not have a slight increase. There is going to be a few more years before you have any decrease in debt service on the bonds. Mayor, your commercial sewer billing before Councilwoman G for our neighbor, $115,000.
So we're at almost four times, 4 to 5.
Yes, in a normal year would be at that $600,000 to $900,000 range, which is in line with my formula of whatever our neighbor does divided by 4 or multiplied by 4, and that's what we do.
On that subject, I mentioned this before, an interesting observation. Holy Name sewer billing dropped significantly. I believe we identified a leak in their system. So for 1 year, they paid us a ton of money, and the following year, the usage dropped significantly because their sewer usage went down. Their water and sewer usage went down as a result of the leak being fixed, which cost them a fortune.
Correct. Going back to Deputy Mayor Belcher's point, I mean, if you look up and down Cedar Lane, even Teaneck Road, the business district, my wife, likes to mess with me about this, but I really believe in the power of patterns, right? We're creatures of habit. We tend to unknowingly have the same habits that we do purposely, not purposefully. Who gets the sewer bill? It's any of these nail salons, barbershops, restaurants, gas stations, anyone that uses water in excess. They're really the ones subsidizing this bill for us. And again, to the mayor's point, again, where was everyone in lockdown 2020, 2021? They're at home. So it's really that inverse operation where the bill went up, but the businesses weren't subsidizing that bill. That's why I'm thinking, well, 22 is kind of a rebound year for the township. So it might not be at that $900,000 to $1 million mark where it was back in 2019 when we received the funds. With hopefully foot traffic increasing more in 23 and 24, that bill should come back up again as the receivable.
All right. So on a similar note, on October 24th, our next zoning subcommittee meets at 9 a.m. Part of this meeting will be about creating the zoning for affordable housing. Those affordable housing sites could eventually come up to the council in the middle or end of next year. So just please keep that in mind that those sites, if we do approve them, will generate revenue, and those sites will generate permit fees. So we look forward to everyone's support for those to help offset our budget. That meeting will begin the process, and I believe we have until March 30th to end the zoning, but we'll have our attorneys will take us through that as we go. But the kickoff meeting will be on Friday, October 24th at 9 a.m. That meeting is open to the public. Yes, Councilwoman.
Since we do have until March to identify potential properties, should we put out potentially an RFP for developers to provide ideas for additional properties since we want to potentially go above and beyond the affordable housing requirements?
Thank you for bringing it up. I actually got one last night. And developer called me and said, why didn't you include my property on Cedar Lane? I met with you guys before. This was the owner of what's the address on Cedar Lane? The old Chase site on Cedar Lane. So I reached out to them today. We played phone tag. But yeah, and he asked if need be, if he can swap out of that. And I had you in mind with that comment. So
Yeah.
you want to reach out to just give us a little more color on what you were referring to?
But I guess what I'm saying is it seems like historically, and I'm not on zoning subcommittee, so correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but it seems like historically developers will reach out to individuals on this council rather than going through a formal process where there's a clear protocol for how you submit ideas that's a little bit more transparent. And so I just wonder if there's a way for us to create that process so that folks know that we're looking for ideas. They understand like where, what we want that to look like in our town, and that, these ideas are in line with the master plan.
That's a great idea, Councilwoman. I think that perhaps what does that look like? I mean, does it look like an opportunity for us maybe to even post on our website? To the to the point of RFP, a formal process, or interested developers, or even looking at, we have had a conversation with the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority, in which they have been able to come or potentially come in and talk to train on means by which they can assist as a government state entity. So I think we should really explore that possibility, because by having this for a formal process, perhaps we could attract even more potential development ideas.
I think there's right. Sorry, go.
I have no problem with that. I'm happy to advertise it. The only fear I have is that it's going to slow down progress. So, kind of like having a task force, but not an advisory board, which takes months to go into effect. I just don't want to slow down timelines for people, but happy to put it out there in whatever way we can, without more constrictions on a process that's already difficult.
I was going to say something a little bit similar. Absolutely great idea. Put it out there. In terms of making it a little more formal, long-term, good idea. Short-term, if you're looking to substitute properties, we only have until March 30th. So we can't do that dance now. But for long-term, we absolutely could do that. Very similar to when we created, for example, the email address that we created, council@teenakenj.gov. I think we've all seen the transparency that people found it easier. Heck, I'm not going to email anyone individually. I'll just email them all. And so we definitely could do that. And, have asked for developers to, if they have any sites or wouldn't mind, email x@ or council@ whatever it is, and take it from there. So if we could put that on the next, on the zoning subcommittee meeting, and then we'll just confirm that with, the building department, see who should get it. We can wrap that around into a November, put out in that regard.
I'm not really clear what the RFP is for. Hasn't everything been private property?
Yeah, I can answer. I don't think she was talking about the concept of RFP, or request for interest, really, is really what you're saying. I think what she's asking is that an email goes out, and Mr. Clerk, those emails have been utterly phenomenal every single day. We probably send out a minimum of 50 emails on every subject, which is over a 2-week period. And it says, if you have land that you're looking to develop, please reach out to the council. I hate to say the council's open for business, but I think that's what I'm referring to. And it's just, if all of a sudden there's our good friend on Queen Anne Road used to remind me his name, that's always calling you about his interest. If all of a sudden he's like, oh, maybe I'll email my property to the town, the old restaurant over there next to Vitale's. So he's always asking. So something like that. And absolutely.
But I would agree. I think it's a great idea I think the success of the general email that goes out to all of us is an excellent, excellent way in which we're all having eyes on things, and that we're able to see and to respond and to have input. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, you know what, Mr. Clerk, if you know, in the next few weeks or a week, or can you just kind of design a potential email and send to the council for approval along the lines we're talking about? If you have a property looking to so-and-so, email council, just, we can look at that draft. We can easily punt this to November, or we can start the process over the next few weeks and take a look at it. Okay. Anybody else?
Are we moving on to item 2? Can we talk about the
Okay.
budget timeline?
I'm on.
So historically, we've always had 4 meetings on the calendar. The first one, we sit here, the department heads come and they present to us, and they don't look overly happy about the prospect. And we've heard the presentations over and over, and it's so nice to have a chance to see them and for them to be in the same room. But I wonder if there's anything statutory about the way that we do it, or it's just always been the way that we do it. And then at the next meeting, we go through the budget. And then, it takes 3 meetings till the budget subcommittee gets the actual budget. We sit down, and then it comes back to council. And I wonder if there's a different way to do it. Maybe on the first night, give the department heads a break if we are allowed to, and then present the budget on that night, and have the budget subcommittee meet right away with the auditor and CFO, and then have the other members of council do the same. Even though it's a subcommittee, It's really something that we should all be involved in, we should all be invested in, and by the time it's done, we should all be voting for. I don't think the budget should never be political. It pains all of us to raise taxes, and we all celebrate the wins. So I'm wondering if we can turn that upside down completely and do it differently instead of 4 Thursday nights in April or March, and, we end up in the same place anyway.
So I'm happy to tackle that question. Ever since I arrived as an employee in the township, April 19th, 2010, it's just been that way. So there's no statutory requirement, with the exception of the state, they make you memorize this in the courses, to introduce by February 10th, which they always change, to March 31st or your next meeting. And then they say you must adopt by March 20th statutorily. And then they come out with a local finance notice, which in mid-December says the same thing. They punt that date from March 20th to April 30th for adoption or your next meeting. Their only other statutory requirement for us as a Faulkner Act municipality is the November public budget hearings, which we conduct every year and have done so since I've been here in 2010. But there is no requirement or format of how you have the budget. I know with our neighboring municipality, we used to have a similar meeting. It was Saturday, the first Saturday of December, from 8:30 to 12:30 with the department heads coming in similarly. We then got rid of that last year and we said, let the departments meet individually with the finance committee themselves. The committee does all the work with the back and forths with the departments, updates the public, updates the council members, and then they say, hey, we're going to introduce on this day. Any questions, let us know. If not, go through your council liaison. We introduce the budget. 28 days later, have the hearing. Budget's adopted, and everyone's thrilled. There is no gold medal for adopting your budget in March. The state has started to come down on municipalities who, by July, you have not introduced. They will threaten to levy fines, $25 a day per council member. So that's really your parameters, is let's get this done efficiently and effectively. To me, typically by Memorial Day, you should have your budget adopted and everyone should move on to the next item of business.
Okay, so with that idea, let's throw it out there. Is it $25 per councilman per day?
That's my understanding, correct?
They take credit card?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Okay,
I
so
could ask though.
I love that idea. It's painful. It's painful for everyone because more importantly, we don't get anything done at the meeting. So love the idea of just like kind of redoing it, blowing it up and redoing the process. Can we talk, anybody have any ideas on the how? Any other thoughts? So
Sorry. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, could we maybe take some suggestions from the experts themselves? They may have some ideas about how they'd like to present it. I'm sure they don't want to sit through 2 hours, 2, 3, 4 hour meetings. So they might have some ideas.
Do you want me to go? So my idea would be, and again, we'll follow the schedule that the state provides in the local finance notice, which is as good as gospel. Also, because we are a Faulkner Act municipality, we meaning the manager, myself, I would recommend we still present the budget to the council in an open public meeting via PowerPoint, however else we'd like to handle that. So that way the governing body has it. My recommendation would be then to set up a few subcommittee meetings, let the committees decide the dates they want to meet along with departments, have an agenda for each of those meetings, and really go from there. But really, in my opinion, let the subcommittee do their work.
And it would be great if all 7 members of council could have a chance in different groups to meet, but you never know what you're going to come up with when you start talking. This way we would have one meeting where the public could speak at the beginning where the budget is presented, one meeting where the public could speak, where we all get back together, and then we can move it over to council away from budget
We could
meetings.
also do that as long as it's duly advertised on your schedule and you have a quorum. That's not a problem at all either. But I do agree with changing it up and seeing how that works better to streamline it.
Tom, can you just confirm that sounds like an OPMA violation? Doing a round robin, that's an OPMA violation.
No, obviously,
different groups of 3, not
Yeah.
7 people.
right.
That's a round robin.
No,
No.
so to clarify, my idea was that you have a budget meeting duly noticed with everybody on.
And behind the
I asked the
scenes, we can
attorney.
all meet with the experts.
It's more typical, frankly, what's being stated, that it works through the subcommittee process, whether that's the finance committee or maybe the public safety committee if dealing with the police and fire. But usually department heads don't, in this state, don't meet with the council as a whole. They'll meet with the subcommittee and first the manager, of course, to come up with a recommended budget for each department. And then that's presented to the council. To the extent that you want to read the entire council in, obviously it has to be a public meeting. But if it's less than a majority of who are meeting, that's not a problem. That happens all the time, especially with budget items, with the budget.
Did you want to jump?
Had a question for Issa. I know you've been here for many years and you've seen a lot in terms of how you're preparing the budget and also how the departments are preparing to present that budget. Has there ever been an instance where the departments have been asked to reduce or to present a budget at a reduced number or to come in within a certain percentage or maybe a reduction from the year previous? Has there ever been any instance like that?
Every year. So the manager puts out the budget memo. Even when I was the clerk or the manager's assistant, the budget memo for many years read, please keep our operating expenses flat. I believe in 2023, under Manager Kaczynski, we actually asked for a reduction. We actually had a department head meeting where we did ask departments to make and find reductions, and we did come up with the ask that we needed, that we were able to then bring the budget down to 4.99 last year. The manager and I distributed the budget packages to all departments this past Friday. They're due back October 24th in preparation. Again, we'll have the public budget hearings. And then in January, February, once the calendar turns, I've wrapped up the 25 year, closed it out, rolled over the system on New Year's Day. That's what I end up doing every year. We will then wait for our revenue numbers. We'll have unaudited figures. We'll wait for the auditor to have their financial statement completed. So then we really get into the war room, the conference room upstairs on a Saturday, a few Saturdays. We will selectively call department heads and ask them again to look back and trim back what they can. We may take it from operating, we may take it from salary, we may take it from capital. Everything is on the table. But to go back to your question, without exaggeration, for 15, now going on to my 16th year, yes, every year we ask department heads, is there anything else you could put off? I know for a few years, recreation put off sanding one of the gym floors at like $25,000. We've pushed things in capital. Public Works is always finding a way to really stretch it another year with their vehicles. We had one year we had no vehicles in Public Works. We had at least 2 budget years with no vehicles in police, which now we're catching up on. So there's been a lot of trade-offs by the departments, to give them their credit.
Comments on that? If you can please, think in your mind about how to redo it. You mentioned some ideas just now. If there's anyone else you want to go back to, speak to Dan or the manager, and just so we can maybe work towards the end of the year when we do the calendar to think of this new opportunity, because I do agree it's a show, and that's not what we're looking to accomplish.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Right. Okay. I don't think Councilman Katz will complain either. Anybody else in comments? Anybody else? We'll go to good and welfare. Do you have anyone on Zoom? We'll hit the room in a second. Oh. That's me next. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. So why don't we go to the room? Anyone in the room like to speak? Councilman Sohn. Yeah.
Former Councilman Stone, Teaneck resident. I got my tax bill today. A lot of people got their tax bill today. My tax bill is up over $800. The biggest single increase, it's not quite 50%, it's a little bit below, is the municipal increase. The municipal increase was up 7% this year, as you said, about 5% last year. And just to give you some actual numbers that came straight from the CFO, next year's estimate is 14.4%, which will be about 8 million or so if I do a good calculation. The following year, 16.7%, about another $9 million. A lot of time was spent talking about budgets, but it astonishes me, and it should astonish every single resident, that you did not have a single number in front of you. The 3-year projection that Mr. Abbasi has done should be sketched out to 5 years, and I can tell you what most of those numbers will be, because most of those numbers are salaries, which are going up consistently 2+% per year. Ballpark figures for healthcare, for insurance, for other expenses. We know that debt service is going up because we have the biggest debt amount ever in township history. It is true to some extent that the items on the $100 million 6-year capital plan are placeholders, but unfortunately, some of these placeholders have to get done. Police headquarters is a disaster. There is more than $100 million worth of work that needs to get done. There's probably $200 or $250 million. And all we do is keep on kicking that can down the road and making it more expensive. Let's take the CSX bridge. The CSX pedestrian footbridge has been an issue from before I was on council. It was an issue for a decade before I was on council. Setting aside a little bit of money every single year will get things done. But if we have to throw money back, if we're going to pay for Band-Aids and still not have people who need to be able to, who are handicapped, parents, seniors, to be able to get over that bridge, what are we accomplishing? We need to look at everything. And that's part of the problem. Sewer fees, why are we years behind? We're waiting to give, we're 3 years late on a bill, but we want to give people an extra week or two to pay that before they see the bill? What's going on here? There's an old joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is 1, as long as the light bulb wants to be changed. How many council members does it take to fix a completely broken budgeting process? The answer is 4. But there have to be 4 people sitting up there who understand what the numbers are, who are looking at them not until January 1st, but every single day, and looking at actual numbers and figuring out how to deal with the financial crisis that is hitting every single Teaneck resident. Thank you.
Seeing other hands, anyone on Zoom? Okay, we'll go to the formal meeting items. I think, was there a miscellaneous item?
Make sure I have this right here. So the ABCR, I just wanted to clarify, there's a document that got shared with you earlier today. They are formalizing their process for the Feldman Award selection, and they're just making it crystal clear how they've created a rubric for how they give out the award. So they just wanted to share it with you. Apparently, there was a misunderstanding that there needed to be sign off from either this body or from our attorney, which I don't believe is necessary, which I think we clarified, but I just want to make sure you all had eyes on that. That's number 1. And then number 2, there is a request from that advisory board to host an event in partnership with Never Alone Again for Thanksgiving. And they're curious about whether or not they're allowed to, or they're asking for permission for the township to endorse the event as an advisory board of the Township Council. And so I just wanted to put that in front of this body to see if I could get 4 nodding heads to support that event.
So if I can ask you 2 questions. First, is there any action step on the Matty Feldman Award? I did not follow that at all. I don't have.
Matthew Feldman's a heads up. There is now a rubric that they are using in order to, once they get the nominations, to select the award winner recipient.
Got it. And
I love a good rubric.
okay. And secondly, in terms of which advisory board and what are they looking?
This is the advisory board on community relations.
Same ABCR, and they want to do what?
They're hosting a Thanksgiving event, and they're hoping to partner with Never Alone Again, Teresa Johnson.
Yeah, sure. When?
I don't have a date. I can come back to you the date. I don't
Because
recall.
it's on Thanksgiving, which is.
I think it's a week before Thanksgiving. I think it's the 2nd, they said.
Is this the event they do in the church in St.
Yes, exactly.
event.
So instead of doing it with the church, they want to partner with, it's been very difficult, I think, for Chair Cheryl to do it on her own. And so they're looking to partner with the
Love it.
nonprofit.
I think that's a great idea. I
Yeah.
think that the Never Alone Center does such wonderful work within our township. So having one of our advisory boards working with them, I think would be a wonderful event.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Since we're talking about ABCR, can I give a brief advisory board report? So I'm not the liaison to Senior Citizens Advisory Board, but I went to a meeting and they brought up 3 things. They were asking for more parks, more benches in our parks, which we're working on, which we're already doing. They had a lot of questions about Teaneck Tailgate. They felt that there's not enough details out there, so we're going to get them more details so that they can share it with their friends. And the last thing they were asking for was a town hall at the Rhoda Center during morning hours or early afternoon hours so that more residents that are there can attend. And the manager's already informed, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody heard about this so that
Yeah.
something to consider possible.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I'm not sure, were you guys on council when we changed it around 2014 or so? We had one meeting a quarter as a regular council meeting, but we did it during the day in order to allow the seniors or people who could make it to attend.
At Holy Name, right?
No, we did it here. We did it here. We did it here. Is there a desire to go back to that? I mean, there's pros and cons to that, keep in mind.
1 p.m.?
It was a quarterly meeting in 2020 that you did that.
Is that something that they're looking at or?
Well, I don't want to speak for them, but it seems like they really wanted it to be at the Rhoda Center so that they could just walk down there after their classes and participate. But I like the idea. I'm down.
Ladies, sorry, we were just discussing how years ago, we implemented for about 4 years, a quarterly council meeting regularly scheduled, but instead of being at night, it was during the day. So allowed people that were unable to get out at night to attend. The upside is it's excellent. The downside is that it requires being off from work.
Wasn't that before we had the meetings on Zoom?
Yeah.
So now we have, everybody can participate?
But I think it was more late at night. Or they're asking for not a council
They
meeting.
wanted us to just sleep on it, like a town hall meeting, to consider having a town hall at the Rhoda Center
Okay, I
during
think you're
early
looking for a
morning
yes,
hours
right? You're looking
or
for a
early
yes?
afternoon hours.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Good.
I'm down, but
Okay.
I'm always for sleeping on things
Okay.
before we actually make a
Well,
decision.
Yes, so we'll sleep on it for the next meeting. Okay. Anybody else?
I had a tour of the library today. It looks fantastic. And I think next week they're releasing the grand opening date, and a lot of fun teasers are coming out, but it's going to be really nice. I know everybody's happy to get back.
Oh, I meant to text you back. Sorry. Yes, anything I could do to help, whether it's a teaser, the t-shirt, anything, please count me in.
Oh, yeah, and I think the video idea is a great idea.
Can there be polos instead of t-shirts? No. Okay. Ms. Manager, do you want to weigh in anything? You good?
I would like, Issa actually did a timeline, 2026 budget timeline that I thought maybe we should share on the screen for anyone who might look at our recording. I think it's a good resource for us to have a look ahead.
This is before tonight's discussion of not
Yeah.
having those department meetings.
So
keep
yeah,
that
so
in
that
mind.
part is a little, yeah, that part would be a little.
This is what we had anticipated.
And it will be updated based on our conversations today.
So again, that March to April, those budget meetings, that'll be subject to change based on how we come up with it, subcommittees or otherwise, but everything else is on point. Again, tonight's the budget workshop. Friday, the memos went out to department heads, really asking them to keep everything in line with as minimal increase as possible. Those are due back to us on the 24th of October. We will be releasing the schedule of the November public budget hearings within the next month or so as we're finalizing that with departments. And then really that takes us to the turn of the year, when the manager and I sit down, and review the budget with the auditor. We have our statutory deadlines, January 31st, the annual debt statement, which gives us the updated net debt percentage relative to your average of 3-year valuations of all real property. February 10th is your financial statement. Again, this is becoming possibly a permanent change, but February 10th statutorily is your annual financial statement that's due, which they'll probably move to the first Friday in March that they've been doing for several years. You then get into your you then get into your March and April, which is probably the revised introduction date of March 31st or your next meeting. And then they'll give you April 30th or the next meeting date for your adoption date. Again, no penalty if it's done prior to July. And there's no gold medal for adopting in March. As we saw 3 years ago, the war in Ukraine really put strains on gas prices. Municipalities adopted their budgets and then by June said, hey, we've overspent our gas money. So that's why I say world events trickle down, everything is local.
Good. Excellent. Seeing no other hands, is there a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Would
Thank
you like to take a roll call? You're all.
Great work, guys. Great work, Deputy. How's it going?
1 hour.
That's one of the last things. Good job,